It's April 8th, 2019, and I am standing in the middle of my brand new apartment. After a week-long move-in process, I've finally gotten to a presentable point, a point where I can call it finished moving in, finally a livable space. And in today's video, I'm going to give you the grand tour. I am so excited to show you my new living space, the new place where I will be living for possibly long term, possibly years, depending on how it goes. But without further ado, let's get started and show you my new space. So this is a second story apartment. You can see I'm actually right up against the roof. So there's actually these slanted ceilings, which is actually kind of neat. I kind of like the aesthetic it gives. But I'm standing in the entryway right now. And the kitchen and living room are all one big room. So this thing's kind of funny. It's sort of like a partial bachelor apartment because there is a separate bedroom, but the living room and kitchen are all one great big piece. So it's kind of interesting like that. But there's the door to go out. Here's the cupboard area in the kitchen. So quite a bit of cupboard space. And you can kind of see it's really neat how they've designed it around the sloped ceiling. So you've got this sloped cupboard here, which is really neat, and they even got this tiny little one here. They made use of all the space. Really neat. So I've got my microwave oven, my toaster, there's a sink, single sink, little spring-loaded thing to put paper towel holders on, little shelf right there, very nice. Now you got two light switches here. One of them controls this ceiling light right here. And the other one, no clue what it does. No freaking clue. It doesn't seem to control anything. I've tested it with all the outlets. It doesn't seem to control any outlets. No clue what it's here for. But anyway, there's the one side of the kitchen. And then when we go to the other side, we've got a nice full-size refrigerator. Very nice. And we've got this very interesting and undoubtedly vintage General Electric stove and oven. It's quite a small unit, smaller than your usual stove, but you still get 4 full-size burners. And the oven, you can see, doesn't even have a window. And it doesn't have a light either. There's your oven. Very good condition. This thing's really clean and not rusty or anything. It's very nice. There's a cutout for where a light would have been. But yeah, really neat stove. It does have the drawer here. But yeah, just look at this thing. I don't know when this would have been made. You know, if I had to guess, it's got a grounded outlet, so 70s maybe at the earliest, maybe 80s, but very basic. You've got your 4 burners, your oven control, no lights whatsoever, the single grounded outlet, and not even a timer. And I've never seen an oven with no timer, so whenever I cook stuff in the oven, I'll have to use a clock or something, or my phone for the timer. But that's what you get for the kitchen. Now before we go to the living room section, we'll go into the bathroom. So once again, you have 2 light switches here. One of them controls the bathroom light. This one does nothing. And I don't know why. 2 light switches in here that don't do anything. So odd. But here we step into the bathroom. It's quite a small bathroom. There's your ceiling light. It takes 2 bulbs, but there's only 1 in it right now. You get this tiny little window, which is nice, although I would like to put a curtain or something over that to cover the view when I'm taking a shower or whatever. But if we look out the window, something really interesting about this place is these are railroad tracks. It is right by the railroad, which is neat. Now, this isn't very actively used. A freight train goes by once a month or something. But still, that's really neat. Here's our tub and shower. Very nice. Here's the toilet, and the toilet's kind of interesting because I've never seen this before and I had to look it up. You flush it with these buttons and it's got two buttons, one slightly larger than the other, and it's like, why does it have two buttons? I couldn't tell a difference when you press them, but I had to look it up. And apparently this is something that's really common, particularly in Australia. Basically, this is what they call a dual flush toilet. And it's got two different capacity of flushes depending on which button you press. Pressing the small button flushes with less water than using the big button. So the point of that is to sort of save water. If you only go number 1, you press the little button. If you go number 2, you press the big button to flush with more water. So I found that quite interesting. Baseboard heater right there. This is all electric baseboard heating. Oops. There is the bathroom mirror. Very nice. GFCI outlet. There's the thermostat control. Standard sink. And some nice counter space or storage space under there. And that's pretty much the bathroom. Here's my 150 watt Torchiere lamp. I really don't have a use for this. I've got no really sensible place to put it, and I haven't found a need for it, so it's just sort of standing here. I'll probably bring it back to Mom's house at some point. We got a window right here, and it is April the 8th, but we're getting a big snowstorm today. And you can see the car down there starting to get buried in snow. So I have pretty much taken ownership of Mom's car. Still her car, and she can take it anytime she wants to, but because I have to use it every day to get to and from work, she's pretty much just let me have it with the condition that I give it to her anytime she wants. And I now pay the insurance and the gas and everything else on it. So here's the living room section. We got a side table right here. Here's my couch. It was nothing short of a miracle that Matt and I were able to get this couch in here. When we got it, see the entryway, so there's a staircase going down this way, and once you get outside the door, there's like 6 or 8 cubic feet of space, just a little entryway where this door is, and we got the couch up there, and there's absolutely no room to like pivot the couch around so you could get it through the door. And I thought that was the end of it, that we'd have to bring the couch back down, put it back in the U-Haul van, and bring it to Mom's house. But Matt and I spent like 15-20 minutes just constantly inching it any way we could. I imagine we put quite a strain on the ceiling out there because the couch was standing up on end, and it was, as tall as the floor to ceiling height here. And I didn't think we'd get it in, but somehow through a bunch of scraping and squeezing and creaking, we managed to get it through the door, and we didn't damage anything, which was quite impeccable, quite impressive. So yeah, really surprising there, but it made it in. Maybe slightly worse for wear, but usable nonetheless. The place came with this interesting painting, which looks like it has a coffee stain on it, but that's an actual part of the painting, or at least it's part of the print. Maybe the artist accidentally spilled coffee on it. Thermostat for the living room and kitchen heat. This light switch controls the light on this ceiling fan, Which, yeah, we have a ceiling fan in here. This is the first place I've ever lived with a ceiling fan since my dad's house, which I only lived in until I was 6 years old. Haven't lived in any house with a ceiling fan since then, so that's really, really cool. It's got a daylight colored LED bulb in it, which is fine. And yeah, it actually works. It's got 3 speeds, and reverse. So very cool. And I have to be careful because whenever I'm sitting on the couch, sitting in my chair, my first instinct when I stand up is to stretch my arms towards the ceiling. And I'm a tall person, I'm 6 feet tall. So I literally have to be careful of not reaching up and getting my hand in the blades, because I'm not even on my tippy toes, I can touch the ceiling. So I have to be careful. There have been a couple of times already where I reached up to stretch while the fan was on and my hands hit the light, and I'm like, oh frig, because that's inches away from potential damage to my hands. I actually did accidentally stretch myself into a running ceiling fan once. It was way back when the first time I worked for the university 4 years ago now. I was in my boss's office and he had the ceiling fan running, and I get up to stretch and I just straight up accidentally stuck my hands into it. Luckily it was running on slow speed. My hand immediately stopped the blades. It hurt, but I wasn't badly hurt. It was just painful. But yeah, I kind of have to be careful about that now. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, I've got my couch. I've got my coffee table. Here's my Northern Telecom solo phone that I had hooked up to my phone service here, which you saw in one of the moving vlogs. I've switched this out for another phone now, one which I'll be making a video of eventually. But there's my computer chair and my computer desk. And yes, if you watch the moving vlogs, you know that I was worried about being able to get this desk together. The original hardware that you used to assemble it was a lot of these weird interlocking tabs and stuff. Like, there were these things that looked like big Phillips screws, but you only turned them a quarter turn and it made a peg pop out that went into a hole on the other panel, and it locked the panels in place. And I didn't know that when I was disassembling this desk in Fredericton when I was moving out of my last apartment. And I basically destroyed most of that hardware and just got the pieces apart, and I'm like, well, I'll deal with it, when I get the next apartment and try to assemble it again. Well, I realized that it was never going to go back together the way it was meant to, so I bought a 50-pack of self-tapping wood screws, and a friend and I spent like 2 or 3 hours one afternoon just screwing the heck out of this thing. Wow, that didn't sound right. Just putting a bunch of screws in this thing and putting it together just with screws. So this thing looks like crap now. It's got screws in it literally everywhere, just screws for every panel. There's a panel that did not end well, but we got it together. So yeah, it's a lot worse for wear. Certainly not the nice, pristine, very expensive desk that it probably was when I got it. But at least it's together. The drawers and stuff have gotten scraped up from being in storage, so I've ruined whatever value this desk had, but it's usable now, and that's what's important. And yeah, I'm so thankful for his help. I've got the greatest friends, I really do. But we got the desk together through a lot of cooperation and use of an electric drill. I bought a 50-pack of screws, and we ended up using 41 of them. This thing is held together with 41 screws now, which is just hilarious. And you can see I've got my desktop computer set back up. My Dell Optiplex 780, which has been in storage since August. It's back up here and running, survived storage just fine. It's been installing a crap ton of updates. It's still installing updates right now. But it's getting there. It's running well. And you know, got the same stuff. My IBM Model M keyboard, my Microsoft wheel mouse, optical, my neon power strip surge protector thing, one of my 15-watt fluorescent desk lamps, and yeah, things are just going. This thing's just working just fine after coming out of storage, and my monitor and everything else. So that's great. I can't forget the frog. Yeah, he's happy in his new place. Took him no time after I set it up to become comfortable and start singing and everything like that. And I actually don't need to set up his 6-watt fluorescent light that I've always had set up for him. This lamp lights up the tank just fine, and it's actually not as lit as... There he goes, singing right now. It's not as bright and intense as the 6-watt lamp was, so hopefully... So it should be better for him, because African clawed frogs don't like bright light. They like it quite dim and dingy. And algae hopefully won't grow as fast as it usually does. So yeah, he's quite happy here so far. So yeah, that's the living room. And let's just take a moment. I gotta take a moment to acknowledge and appreciate. Look at this massive open space that I've got right here. My entire life, I've been so used to living in mess and clutter and disarray that having this massive open space, and my voice is echoing against the walls, it almost feels wrong, but it also looks and feels really incredible. Like there's almost like a calming sensation when I look at this apartment and there's all this clean open space, so inviting looking, not spoiled by tons of old electronic crap everywhere. I actually really enjoy it. This is the first place probably that I've ever lived that I can honestly say looks quite nice. You know, it's a little bit crowded over here with the couch, coffee table, chair, and desk. You know, there's just enough room to put all of them in a row. But other than that, you know, this is a super nice, inviting space. I'm really proud of how it's turned out. And this is only because, of course, all my crap is at Mom's house in the basement right now and in my bedroom. And of course, when I say all this, it doesn't mean that I'll never do any stuff with vintage computers or anything here, but Mom has graciously allowed me to continue to use her basement to store some of my stuff, so I can keep my stuff stored there. And whenever I want a computer or something else here to play around with, I can just bring it here. When I'm done with it, I can bring it back, and it's not taking up space. So yeah, really pleased with that. With that said, I would like to get a small dining table to put probably in this area, just so, you know, when I have friends over, we have a proper place to eat. And I might get another desk to put along this wall too. If I want to do soldering or something, a desk right up next to this window so I can open the window to let solder fumes out and stuff. That would work very well as well. But for now, it's looking very nice just as it is. Let's go into the bedroom. Now, I didn't prepare very well. My bed's not made and stuff like this. But here's the bedroom. Again, you've got the sloped ceiling. And I'm pretty happy with how it's laid out. I mentioned in one of the moving vlogs that I wasn't 100% sure of where I'd like this to go. It could go over here, but I'm not sure. I've just left it here for now. It's fine where it is. But here's my bed, here's my nightstand, and I've actually decided, since the frog doesn't need this anymore, I'm using this as a nightstand lamp. And it's working well for that. Perfect amount of brightness, not too bright. I got my 80s GE alarm clock right here. Got my garbage can and my chair here. I just sort of have it in here right now. could be appropriate maybe to put it somewhere out here, although, you know, with the couch here, I really don't need any other chairs here. But I imagine when I have someone over and I want them to look at something on the computer with me, I can pull this chair out and stick it beside my chair there, and it'll be good for that. But I guess for now, this is a decent place to put it. You know, it's certainly not in the way of anything. Got my little 6-inch fan there as a noisemaker. My cracked full-length mirror. And, oh, how could I forget the electrical panel? So yeah, here's the electrical panel for this place. So it's really nice that the electrical panel is right in here rather than out in the hallway or whatever. Complete with gaping holes in it. That's kind of interesting. But yeah, there's all the circuits for this thing, and I tried to look for like a manufacture date on this, kind of get a sense of how old this place might be. I think the building itself, you know, just by the looks of it, it might be going on 100 years old. But with that said, it may have been a house before it became an apartment building. So how old the apartments themselves are, I don't know. But I can't find any, you know, manufacture date or installation date on this or anything that might date it. So yeah, there's that. If I ever trip any circuits accidentally, I can just go in here and reset them. Very nice. And here's my closet. I've only got a few clothes with me right now. I moved in here yesterday, so I've only brought like a few days worth of clothing. Got some stuff stored up there. And so this closet is super interesting. Take a look at this. Well, first of all, it's actually high enough that it's almost a walk-in closet. Like, I can walk in here and only have to duck a couple inches, and my head fits in here. Very neat. But also, take a look at this. Look how far in this goes. This, like, there's my arm all the way stretched out from here. And yeah, it goes in like 8 feet, like 6 or 8 feet. Super interesting. So yeah, it goes in super deep. You could almost make this a spare bedroom. You could put a really skinny mattress and somebody, you know, it's more than long enough for somebody to lay down in it lengthwise. It's really neat. So that's pretty much everything I have to show you for this place. I will detail one more thing, and that's how my telephone and internet are wired up. A couple of people had questions about this, but I've stored my 2 modems, because there are 2 modems, one for internet and one for telephone. I've stored them under the desk here, so let's go down under and take a look. So my internet and phone are coming from Rogers, and I've dealt with their customer support twice so far, and I have to say I'm extremely pleased. Of course, I won't hold my breath too tightly because, you know, Rogers has had so many, you know, almost as many bad things said about them as Bell has. But in the 2 times I've dealt with their customer support so far, it's been thoroughly pleasant, and I got what I needed from them swiftly and without any frustration. So between that and the great deal they gave me on a bundle of internet and home phone, I'm really glad I went with Rogers and not with Bell. I've been really pleased with the service so far. Not to mention that the internet service I'm getting, which is advertised at 75 megabits per second down and 10 megabits per second up, I'm getting 100 megabits per second down and 10 megabits per second up, so I certainly can't complain there. Well, let's take a look and see how this is done. Now, I know you're not going to get a very good view here, but I have all the cabling stuffed in there. So Rogers' service comes through cable, coax cable. All of their services do. Internet, television, and home phone. So, of course, they have digital high-definition TV service. That just comes down the coax. And all the services come down one set of coax. They all fit down the same line. So, see if I can pull these things out here. So, alright, so here's my internet modem / router. It is a wireless router. 802.11ac. I don't think I've ever had AC Wi-Fi before. I don't know if I own anything that does AC. I know my laptop doesn't do AC. I know the Wi-Fi card in my desktop doesn't do AC, and I don't think my phone does AC. It's all N. So I can't make use of AC Wi-Fi, but the fact that it's actually an AC capable modem, that's pretty darn cool. But there it is anyway, blinkety blinking away. And of course it's cable, so there's your old-fashioned coax cable with an F connector on it, just like you'd find on an old television. And that is going through the wall outside the building. There's the Ethernet cord connecting to my desktop computer. And there's the power for it. And here's the telephone modem. So this is what connects me ultimately to the telephone exchange, generates the dial tone and everything like that. It's voice over IP based service, but on the user end it looks and functions just like an ordinary analog telephone line, a POTS line. So once again, standard coax cable with a F connector going to the cable leading outside the house. So these two modems are going outside the same cable. There's just a splitter. These are hooked into a splitter, so they tap into the same line. There's the AC power going in, and there is a standard telephone wire plugged into an RJ11 jack. There's two RJ11 jacks in here. That's just in case I had, if I had purchased two telephone lines. I only purchased one here, so the second jack actually isn't functional. But yeah, and that goes to my phone on the desk, which I'm only going to give you a peek of because it's something that I want to make a video of. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The telephone modem actually has a battery backup. It has a built-in lithium-ion battery that'll keep it running for 5 hours. And that's so, of course, when the power goes out, you don't lose your telephone. So it's an emulation of the standard telephone service, you know. Throughout history, you could always rely on telephone service if the power went out. But now that telephone service is being carried over modems instead of through, you know, a standard telephone line down to an exchange, you don't get that inherent backup power anymore. So the modem has to supply its own. So there is those. I'm just gonna tuck those right back in, out of the way. So this does mean that the two telephone jacks that come with this place, one here between the bedroom and the fridge, and another one down behind my night table here, they're not hooked up to anything. And it's kind of funny, when the Rogers technician came in, first thing I did was pointed out where the telephone jacks were, because I figured, well, he's got to know where the phone jacks were, but he sort of just stayed silent and didn't say anything. And then he informed me that he wasn't going to use the jacks. It was, you know, that's when I learned that Rogers' telephone service runs over cable. So these aren't hooked up to anything. But it has given me a bit of an idea. If I were so bold, I could technically run another telephone line from the modem across this wall, behind the couch, across this wall, up the door frame, and back down. And I could run it into this jack, and by the looks of it, there's no outside line running to this jack. There's nothing on this jack that runs outside the house, because the jack in the bedroom here, that there's the line for that. You can see not very graceful installation here, but the line for the bedroom jack ultimately runs through this hole in the wall, which goes to this jack. So the jack that's in there has just been screwed in to the jack that's in here, and that's what it appears to look like. There's two of each color of wire, because one of each wire is going to this jack and the other one of each wire is going to that jack. And I could confirm that with a multimeter to check continuity. But it appears that there's no outside line, and by outside line I don't mean a line running to an exchange because there's no service coming through this. I just mean a line running to the outside of the building. There appears to be no line coming in through the wall connecting to this, so I could run a cord all the way over here and wire it into this and get service on that jack and on that jack. And I may actually look into doing that if I'm feeling bold. The hardest part, actually wiring the cord, super easy. You know, standard telephone jack wiring, super easy to do. The hardest part would just be making it graceful, routing the wire in such a way. Now there's a nail right there which is convenient, and there's one right there. The hardest part would just be not making it look ugly with the cord running up and all the way over and back down. But for the most part it'd be concealed behind the couch, and I might be able to run it behind the baseboard heater if I could. That would be even better. But yeah, that's something I could possibly do. And then that way I could have a telephone in the bedroom without having to run a line, you know, through the doorway or whatever. So that's something I may look into doing. There's the grand tour of my new apartment. I'm really excited to be living here. I've slept one night here so far. I slept great. I'm not having any noise problems or anything like that. Super excited, really excited to film more videos here, and really excited just to live my life here and see what happens as time goes on. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.